Hello, welcome to Comic Tropes. I'm your host, Chris. In 1991, Marvel Comics went public. Now, in effect, this meant that in the days and months leading up to them going public, as well as following that point in time, management was now motivated to find profit every single quarter. And in the short term, that often meant emphasizing style over substance. It also led to them making some decisions to produce some subpar film and television projects. A lot of you are probably aware of the Punisher movie, where Punisher doesn't wear his outfit. Or Captain America, where the title hero is a dork who keeps pretending to be sick in order to steal cars. We had to deal with David Hasselhoff as our Nick Fury. But how many of you out there have been witness to the misfire that was the Power Pack live adaptation? Well, pick up your blocks and practice your ABCs, because we're about to do a deep dive into those preteen heroes as they entered the world of television.
Ours is a vast universe, a wondrous creation of subtle beauty.
The Power Pack TV show begins by going through outer space, and we hear a voiceover by, well, actually, that's one of the first problems. We're never told who is doing this voiceover. He just talks about how he gave his powers to 4 innocent children, and how that power is a lot to handle. It's about a full minute of not great looking computer graphics, and a voiceover taking the long way to use Spider-Man's famous motto of, "With great power comes great responsibility."
So would their ability to use those powers wisely. I just hope I didn't make a mistake.
And before you know it, we cut to suburban America. Now, I don't necessarily think skipping an origin is a bad idea. But if you've never read the comics, this opening voiceover makes no sense. You have no clue who is talking to you, and why he even has powers to give. In the comics, the Power Pack was a group of 4 brothers and sisters with the last name Power. They came across a dying alien named, he actually wanted to be called Whitey. Villainous aliens were attacking, and he gave each of the kids one of his abilities. The oldest, Alex, got the ability to manipulate gravity. Julie could fly and move at fast speeds. Jack could alter his density and turn into a larger or smaller cloud form. And little Katie got energy abilities. The comics, created by writer Louise Simonson and artist June Brigman, had the kids deal with current problems like child abduction and the drug epidemic. The kids rarely got clean victories because they were too young to affect real change, but their hearts were in the right place and it felt authentic to what it was like to be a kid. The TV show somehow misses most of what made it cool, from the colorful outfits to the stress of trying to deal with problems as a kid when you feel no one takes you seriously. The show starts in earnest with middle kid Jack angrily pounding on the bathroom door because he's worried that they'll be late. Except Jack is the goofball and his older brother is the serious, studious one. It should have been flipped. Their mom urges the kids to hurry up, and we next meet Katie, tossing her room like a Law & Order crime scene, looking for the perfect outfit. Alex finds where his brother left his science book, not by the fish tank, but under it. You can tell it's a science book because it's helpfully marked Science. A textbook under a fish tank? Yes, this show had top-notch humor, the kind you can only get when 50-year-old men try to write kids. There was no second episode to this show, but one can imagine that if there was, we'd have some pretty cool references like the kids asking to stay up late and watch Dick Clark's American Bandstand. Without any build-up to a reveal, Katie is now racing around her room cleaning at super speed. The show has cut her flight powers and just left her with super speed. Speeding up the video is much cheaper than wire work.
Hi, Jack. Jack Power.
Jack is practicing his introduction, which implies that this is the first day of school. He's the only actor that looks like he's having fun. The rest of the kids are, unfortunately, very awkward on camera. And I'm not arguing that this kid is believable, but he does look like he's having fun. And this may seem minor, but if Jack was practicing his introductions, and Katie is looking for the perfect outfit. That sounds like it's day one of school. But Alex already had his science textbook, didn't he? I don't know about you, but when I went through grade school up through high school, they gave me the textbook in school. I didn't have to get it before school started. Then again, like I say, I think that this show was written by 50-year-old men whose most recent memory of being young was probably having to buy textbooks for college. It doesn't exactly break the show, but it also doesn't make sense. I mean, you could have just as easily had Alex lift the fish tank to get a notebook or his backpack. Hey, how about if he lifted it to get his favorite Spider-Man comic book? Product placement, Marvel. You can use that one on me. Alex looks around to confirm that no one is watching him and then gives a sly grin as he uses his gravity powers to easily lift the fish tank and take his book. He looks like he did something sneaky, but in the very next scene, Mr. Power sees Floss dangling down the sink and lifts it to reveal Jack, who has shrunk down to get his retainer out of the drain. This gets a reaction about as extreme as noticing that you grabbed 3 socks from your drawer instead of 2. Yes, the biggest change of the TV show versus the comic book is that the parents are completely aware that their kids have superpowers. In the comics, that was not the case. And I'm not against superheroes revealing their identity. I think it can make a lot of sense sometimes. But there are 2 good reasons for people to have a secret identity in superhero stories. One, it creates conflict. There's tension because somebody is keeping a secret. And 2, when you have the reveal, that can lead to a big reaction. A secret has been revealed. In this, the reaction we get from the father is just about non-existent. He's just sort of actually, you know what? Let's take another look at exactly what that reaction was. Yeah, I really don't know exactly what kind of a reaction that is. It's somewhere between annoyed and holding in a fart. And finally, we meet the youngest child in the most terrifying scene in this episode, Katie. Katie is staring at kids playing next door. I guess they don't have to go to school. And she's summoning a ball of energy. She stares them down like she's ready to incinerate them. This kid is possessed. I'm making that call right now. Call Dr. Strange. She's possessed. Dad gathers his children and removes his glasses to give them a speech on their powers. And his speech ends up being,
it's important to remember that with power comes responsibility to yourselves and to this family.
Yeah, that's Uncle Ben's speech to Peter Parker. They totally just stole that from Spider-Man. If you're going to take from better comics, go all in. Have the Power Kids decide to be superheroes when a bat flies through their window. Have them be born mutants. The actress playing the mother has an especially thankless role. She gets to watch everything that happens. Over at school, Alex talks about some science which makes almost all the kids turn on him, except for one girl who seems turned on. Alex is the type of kid who reminds the teacher that he forgot to give them homework. Julie is at the cafeteria, where her friend is telling her where the really cute boys go.
Then there's like this really great video arcade there, and that's where all the really cute boys go.
Yeah, the arcade. That's where all the hottest guys go. That's where young Chris went. Let me tell you, the hottest guys play Pac-Man. Julie has the only real conflict in this episode. Her friend wants her to go to the arcade tomorrow, but she's supposed to help unpack with her family. Also in that cafeteria, that rather small cafeteria, Jack is meeting his friends who want to check out the abandoned house of circus performer...
Who was this Dr. Mobius anyway?
Just to be clear, that kid said Dr. Mobius, not Dr. Morbius.
Who was this Dr. Mobius anyway?
I know, I'm just as disappointed as you. I would love to have unveiled some lost media featuring everyone's favorite new superhero,
Dr. Michael Morbius.
But that just isn't the case. It's Dr. Mobius. Now, let me see if I can make that up to you with a following scene involving a kid getting hit.
You don't wimp out on us, Harlan. Come on.
That's just too good. The kid getting hit did not seem to expect that. And possibly neither did the actor playing Jack. But I don't know what kind of reaction that is. The actors don't seem to be basing their decisions on how humans react. They also might not have gotten the same scripts, because the abusive kid clearly calls his friend Powers with an S, when his last name is just Power.
Power says you can get us in there.
Alex is hanging out by himself in the auditorium like a creep, which only further turns on that girl that likes how smart he is. You know where else is quiet? The library. Anyway, this girl, Tina, gets Alex's phone number in case she has math questions. Alex is getting rewarded for putting in the work, hanging out like a weirdo. Jack and his friends break into Dr. Mobius's house, but first, Eddie punches Harlan in the back of the head again. That kid walked out of this show with a concussion. The kids sneak in, and this is the best looking series of shots. By the way, I'm probably looking at this way too closely, but is there any chance this head is supposed to be a Skrull, the alien shapeshifters in Marvel Comics? Probably not. This is over 15 years before the MCU started and gave us post-credit scenes and Easter eggs, but boy have they conditioned me to look closely at their film and TV shows. I'm looking for license plates so that I can go, that's a reference to the issue where the power pack went up against a bunch of crack dealers. Let's move on before I get any nerdier. Jack walks around the house, shrinks, sees a mouse but doesn't fight it because that would be interesting, and opens the door for his friends. As soon as the kids get into the haunted house set, things start moving a little bit, like a visit to a Spirit Halloween store. They react like kids in the old Ghostbusters commercials.
We ain't scared enough.
They end up in a room with a painting of Dr. Mobius. Dr. Mobius looks a lot like Orson Welles did at this time. By which I mean he'd been dead for about 5 years. Jack picks up a medallion and the kids hear some very light sounds. This causes them to freak out and run away because the scene is over. I love this. When the coffin popped open and a monster grabbed at the kid, well, they could brush that off. But hey, you hear a sound that sounds a little bit like a window shutter banging lightly against the house? Time to pack it up and call it a day. I guess in this scene, it is now the next day because Julie says that she wants to see her friend, and Alex agrees to cover for her. She rides her bike super fast out in public, so much for keeping their powers a secret. Jack opens a drawer and sees the medallion that I guess he forgot about. And wait, what's that beside the medallion? Is that Spider-Man #1?
How about if he lifted it to get his favorite Spider-Man comic book? Product placement, Marvel.
Okay, you caught me. I was nitpicking earlier. Fine, Marvel did a few things right here, but hey, you've made it this far. Don't you want to see how the kids use their powers to save the day?
This is not good.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking the whole time, kid. Dr. Mobius's ghost shows up demanding his medallion back. Katie screams without showing any actual emotion. Impressive in its own way. Alex opens the door and nothing is there. We're talking really big stakes here. A ghost that can't really do anything wants his jewelry back. Alex lectures Jack about using his powers and they decide to return the medallion. The kids go back to the haunted house and face down a dollar store version of Slimer and some Halloween decorations. They're terrified until they remember that they have superpowers and easily escape their various traps. While 3 kids sort of deal with a haunted house, Sister Julie gets home from hanging with her friends and easily uses her superpower to clean the house. I like this part because they actually made this poor kid clean a house and then just sped it up. She had to put in work while her co-stars got to, hopefully, have some fun. In the final big action scene, the kids, they put the medallion on the painting. The ghost is happy and everything is fine. That is one disappointing final scene. Yeah, no big fights, no action, just putting a piece of jewelry back on a painting. This is the equivalent of returning a late library book. The kids now rush home and apologize to their mother, and that is when the big twist comes.
I'm really sorry.
Did you catch it? The kids were Canadian this whole time. Listen to this. It's sorry, not sorry. Listen.
I'm really sorry.
Quite the departure from the comics where they lived in New York City. They were up in Canada this whole time, and we never knew. Oh my God, think of the story potential there. The Power Pack up in Canada, they could have met the Wendigo. He's a monster up in Canada. They could have met Alpha Flight. That's Canada's superhero team in the Marvel Universe. I guess they could have just been vaguely polite to some other ghosts. Well, still, it's a better twist than a ghost wanting his jewelry back. And that was that. Here's the thing. I know Power Pack was never a top seller like Spider-Man or X-Men, but it was a good idea that deserved better. Not to say it did too bad. It had a 6-year run. I always appreciated that the kids in Power Pack acted age appropriate. They did not get huge victories the way that the Avengers or Fantastic Four did. They would get small half victories. It was tough because they were still kids. I also think that if you did this today, it would probably resonate a lot better. This could be a show on the Disney Channel for kids. This could be a series of books aimed at young adult readers, and it would probably sell very well on the shelves of Target and Walmart if it was written well, and if it had good art, of course. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents on the whole thing. I still think it could work, but at the time, Marvel was cheap. They were cheap, and it hurt them a lot. I mean, if you've ever tried to sit through that Captain America or Nick Fury movie, you know what I'm talking about. That said, Power Pack, probably a little bit worse, even cheaper. Thanks so much for taking the time to go through this with me. At some point, I should do an episode about the writer of Power Pack, the creator, Louise Simonson, because honestly, she's pretty fantastic. She did a lot of great stuff in comics through the years. She built X Factor into a really cool title. She did New Mutants. She created characters, or co-created characters, like Apocalypse and Cable. Of course, Power Pack. She did a lot of great stuff. Steel in Superman. She was one of the co-writers of the whole Death of Superman and then the Return of Superman, which introduced Steel, John Henry Irons. She did a lot of stuff. Now that I think of it, that was also turned into a pretty bad movie starring Shaquille O'Neal. Poor Louise Simonson. But anyway, I appreciate you watching. Keep in mind, I've got another show, a live show, every Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, on a channel that I run called Pros and Cons. So you might want to check that out. That's very fun. And I also do things like unboxing stuff that comes into the P.O. box or videos going to local conventions. So I've got a second channel where I sort of put smaller content like that. But anyway, I'll be back next week with a fully edited Comic Tropes episode for you. And until then, why don't you hit things like and subscribe, and I want you to keep reading comics. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please consider hitting like and subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, there are merchandise links beneath the YouTube video, and you can always hit join on YouTube or visit Comic Tropes on Patreon to get access to special perks.